We are officially one full moon cycle out from our first eclipse happening September 7th. Our first eclipse of the eclipse cycle coming up in September is going to be September 7th. It's a full moon lunar eclipse happening in Pisces. Now, this upcoming eclipse season is going to be kind of interesting. We're going to talk more about the actual eclipses in other videos, but for now I want to talk about the time period between where we are in the moon cycle currently from the full moon in Aquarius, not the eclipse, but the full moon in Aquarius, August 9th, leading up to that September 7th eclipse, what to expect. We do have a new moon August 23rd. That's going to be in Virgo. That is how I count the eclipse seasons, technically what kind of kicks it off. No, we're not to an eclipse yet, but it is the new moon that's going to rule over the moon cycle where the full moon eclipse in Pisces is going to be. So since we know there's an eclipse full moon, we can set some pretty good intentions and kind of, what do I want to work on? What's coming up on that new moon in Virgo? If you have any intentions for the eclipse season or things that you're looking for answers for, or things that you're looking for changes in, or if there's any questions, the eclipses usually bring big fated events. And with those big fated events, sometimes if we ask the right questions, we get the right answer. So that new moon in Virgo, August 23rd, is going to be kind of helpful for that. Do you have anything that you're looking at or working towards or really wanting to step up into? That is going to be the moon to ask those questions on, and then let the eclipses eclipse. You could also direct the energy a little bit before the eclipses get here. Before we get to that new moon in Virgo on August 23rd, and we're ending this moon cycle where there was a full moon in Aquarius and we had the new moon in Leo about 2 weeks ago. We're going to be focusing on closing out that cycle of the new moon in Leo and the full moon in Aquarius. So lots of endings. Lots of them is what we can expect. Lots of them by new beginning. Pluto retrogrades are kind of interesting in the fact that, and Pluto retrograde right now is in Aquarius where the full moon is today as I'm filming this. They're kind of interesting in the fact that sometimes the new life has to come through so that the death can happen. Now with Pluto, we don't always see that. Sometimes things are taken away and we just kind of exist in this liminal in-between place, which has a lot to do with Pisces, to be honest. So if you've been feeling in the in-between place, we're going to talk about that in a second. But because Pluto is retrograde, we have the new life coming in, and then because the new life comes in, I have the option to be done with this other thing now, or leave behind or move on. So new life, especially during Pluto retrogrades, is kind of the focus. Now the reason I say it's kind of interesting that we have this liminal in-between space with Pisces when it comes to Pluto-Scorpio interaction, I usually describe Pisces and Scorpio's relationship as if Scorpio is the death, and then there's the rebirth, and then Pisces is kind of this everything that's in between, the stuff that's in the middle. So the fact that we have an eclipse in Pisces coming up September 7th, Pluto is still going to be retrograde, we can expect to see something from that in-between liminal space showing up to offer us new life. So if you find yourself, let's think for a second, okay, what happens before new life comes in? You're nesting, maybe resting a little bit if that's applicable. It might be time to get up and do the work. That's how I've been feeling on this full moon in Aquarius. So maybe it's time to start the grooving and the moving. So discern for you. What else do you do before new life comes through? You prepare so that maybe you can rest a little bit once the new life does get here. You're going to have other responsibilities and other things to focus on, right? So, preparation is usually a good mindset or space to keep. Mindset, yeah, space, both. A mind space. Kind of like MySpace, but for the brain. Anyways, moving on. We're also going to see Saturn retrograde enter Pisces on September 1st, helping us to get more detailed with the transitionary stuff that's going on. I need the detail of this new life to come through. I need this detail. I need this detail. I need this detail so that we can move on. We can have our new beginnings. We can start the new thing. The new beginnings are going to be much more detailed at this time. So get detailed. Saturn will give you what you want if you are detailed and you work for it. That is just a part of the Saturn contract. So love you, Saturn. That's true. And because Saturn is going to be in Pisces with the North Node and with the eclipse that's happening on September 7th, after that September 1st date, we can probably expect that there's going to be some changes when it comes to our Pisces energy. So where Neptune Pisces is in your chart, the 12th house as well. That's true. And anything Pisces related in your brew. So if you have things that are maybe symbolic, spiritual, transitionary, you have things on your spiritual path that are new and different and you haven't explained them yet, or you're still waiting on some transitions to come through and it hasn't happened yet, those transitions and those answers to those aforementioned questions, they're going to start to kick in on that September 1st date after Saturn does re-enter Pisces, and then we're headed up to the eclipse in Pisces. So it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a great one, honestly. I am looking forward very much to the upcoming eclipse. So gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep up the brew that you do. I for sure will too. If you want to catch more astrology and magic updates, you can follow me here and on Substack. I'll be around if you want more information to ground. That's true. And I'll talk to you soon. Also true.